Thank you, everyone. Are we ready? I know some folks, we had some latecomers here. Thank you very much. I'm Howie Padilla. I'm the Director of Communications for the Department of Public Safety. Appreciate you all being here today. I know there's a lot of questions, and we have a lot too. Today you'll hear from the Department of Public Safety Commissioner Bob Jacobson. Again, the spelling of that last name is. Boy, as much as people think I like hearing my own voice, that was not great. Bob Jacobson, Jacobson. Following Commissioner Jacobson, you'll hear from Colonel Matt Langer, 2 T's, Langer. He's the Chief of the State Patrol. There's a couple of reminders, please, as you introduce, now that you've met them and you know them, as you introduce your first question, please remember to state your name and your news agency. Doesn't have to be if you have more than one question after that. Secondly, as a reminder, I'll just tell you that, as you know and as has been repeated often, there's still an ongoing investigation here. As the questions afterwards, if they get to be too specific too many times on that, we'll go ahead and end things. So that will be the process. Following Colonel Langer's comments, you'll be able to see the videos of which we're speaking and of which there have been many requests. And with that, Commissioner, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Howie. Hello, thank you for joining us today. I'm Bob Jacobson, and I serve as the Commissioner of the state's Department of Public Safety. First, let me offer my sincerest condolences to the family of Mr. Cobb. The Cobb family has experienced an immense loss and tragedy. Anytime a loved one is no longer with us, it's incredibly difficult and shocking. But today I'm here with Colonel Langer to share the video of this incident. I will also reiterate that the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension Force Investigations Unit is working to gather the facts of this incident, and it is a top priority, but it will take time. As is their usual process, once they complete their initial investigation, they will release additional details about this incident, including the names of the people involved, a more detailed description of the incident and how it unfolded, and any evidence recovered at the scene. So more information will be released by the end of the week by the BCA. But today, we will share video with the public. I now turn to Colonel Matt Langer, the Chief of the State Patrol, for a few remarks before we share that video. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. My name is Matt Langer. I have the honor and privilege of serving as Chief Colonel of the Minnesota State Patrol. A lot has transpired in the past couple of days, and one of my opening remarks to echo the sentiment from the Commissioner is when I think about everything that I've seen and been through in the past couple of days in my job, the one way that I would classify it is this is just a tremendously sad situation. It's sad from every perspective and for everyone involved. The State Patrol is committed to doing our very best to be responsive and transparent while also honoring the investigative process. As you probably noticed yesterday, we committed to releasing the body-worn camera video as rapidly as we could, but only after the family was allowed an opportunity to view it first, which is exactly what the Commissioner and I spent this afternoon doing. We'll be showing you a video of the incident, squad and body-worn camera, along with one still photo, and I'll offer a few facts of the case that we can release today. Please remember this is still an open and active investigation, and many of the answers we simply don't have yet. And the Minnesota State Patrol is not the investigating agency, so questions about the investigation are not things that I'm aware of. I'll do my best to answer questions, and it's my spirit generally in a news conference to be very helpful. And I'm predicting today there will be an awful lot of I can't talk about that. I don't know. It's part of the investigation. I don't have the answer. Here's what I can tell you about the incident. Just before 1:50 a.m. early Monday morning, a State Patrol trooper was monitoring traffic coming out of downtown on Interstate 94 That would be a normal practice for our troopers who work overnight hours in their search for impaired drivers and watching for traffic violations. While observing traffic, the trooper saw a Ford Fusion without any taillights on, traveling northbound on Interstate 94 near Lowry Avenue, Minneapolis. The trooper pulled this vehicle over, and during the course of that investigation, that traffic stop, troopers learned that the driver was actually wanted by law enforcement in Ramsey County in connection with a felony order for protection violation. That certainly prolonged the interaction roadside as the troopers worked to validate and confirm that that want on this individual was still in effect and that they had the right person. As they worked to detain the driver to get him out of the vehicle, the driver refused to exit. Troopers were attempting to remove the driver from the vehicle verbally and then moved in as he drove away. A State Patrol trooper discharged their firearm during the course of this incident. Life-saving measures were immediately provided by the troopers until emergency services arrived. 3 State Patrol troopers were placed on administrative leave, which is normal and part of State Patrol policy. We're going to start by showing a still image of the vehicle that went by the trooper. Just so you can see, I think it's important to show this was the first image that, a still image from the video that depicts what the trooper saw as the vehicle went by. As we move into the 4 videos that I'm going to show, I want to preface that to say, I'm not going to talk during the videos. I'm not going to narrate. I think it's my belief that the videos should play on their own and people should develop their own thoughts about the video rather than be perceived or trying to inject some sort of narrative over the top of the videos. So I'll let the videos play. The Commissioner and I can stand for any questions and answer those that we can for a while here. There's 3 body-worn camera videos that you'll see, and then there's 1 squad video that we're prepared to also show today. The first video is the trooper's body-worn camera behind the driver's side of the vehicle that was pulled over. I ask that that plays. stop that video. The sequence is the same. They pull the individual out and try life-saving efforts. The fourth and final video we're prepared to show today is one of the troopers, their squad dash video, their dash camera, so it provides a little more context versus the body-worn cameras. Not to get into the technology, but the audio follows the camera. So in this case, the audio is obviously different because it's coming from the squad camera, which is, at a different location than the body-worn camera. So let this video also. And the same point there where they begin to render aid as soon as they possibly can. It goes without saying, but for really difficult videos to watch, I've seen them a number of times. It doesn't get any easier at all. As someone who cares about other human beings and has the job that I do, it's not easy. Difficult is an understatement. That said, I mentioned I won't be able to answer a ton of questions, particularly those about the investigation, but both the commissioner and I are willing to do what we can for a while here to help answer questions you have in the immediate aftermath of viewing the video.
Your hometown with the Minnesota Special Reporter. It seems, so I'm trying to understand, is this standard operating procedure for your troopers to ask people who are wanted for warrants to step out of the vehicle? Why can't your troopers just tell them what he was wanted for, and allow him to remain in the vehicle as he was asking for?
Yeah, there's different ways to look at that issue, but when I witness or observe the conduct of the troopers and the conversation they're having, I wouldn't say it's out of the ordinary for their interactions with people. They simply asked him to get out of the car, and they had lawful reason to do so.
Right, but why couldn't your troopers just to tell him what the reason was for, and allow him to remain in the vehicle?
Yeah, no, it's a question that certainly will come out as part of the investigation. I haven't visited with the troopers about what they were thinking or why they did what they did, so I can't speak to what they were thinking.
Mayor with WCCO, it's hard to tell where the shot came from. Can you tell us which camera, which trooper fired the shot?
Yeah, I want to be careful not to get into the investigative side, but the video of the trooper who fired rounds is the one who was at the passenger side.
Brittany Army, Channel 5. How many times was he shot?
I don't have that confirmed, sorry.
Was he armed? Was there a weapon?
Another question for the BCA as part of their investigation.
Just real quickly, folks, just a reminder, as I mentioned a couple of different times, there's an independent investigation going on. A lot of the questions that you guys have, we have those same questions. If we continue to get into the questions, and it's not out of disrespect or anything, I used to be a reporter and understand the need for these questions to be asked, but there are questions that will be answered by the investigation. If I just don't want to have the colonel or commissioner saying we can't answer that because of the investigation for the next several minutes.
You mentioned this a little reduced from Carol Evans. The reason that they wanted to take him out was because of this domestic abuse violation. But was it a warrant, or can you just kind of clarify what this was again?
Yeah, so, and I should have repeated the question for those that are online, I'm sorry. So the question is about was this a warrant or not? It was not a warrant. It was a pickup and hold for a felony order for protection violation that originated from the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office.
And then, so just a follow-up on that, is that something that would appear like on the computers, or tell us that from the trooper's point of view?
The question relates to how does the trooper become aware of that information? It absolutely does come back. So in the event that a driver who's the registered owner has that pickup and hold, when the trooper runs their license plate, part of the information that comes back would include that information. Similar to a warrant, but unique because it's different than a warrant, is the need to confirm that pickup and hold with the originating agency. And so that was part of what the troopers were doing. That took some time with the traffic stop before we showed the deadly force encounter here. But that's exactly what they did, is confirm that this is still an active pickup and hold, that the agency who desires this individual be brought into custody still believes they have probable cause, and that it is the correct person.
That's the reference to Ramsey County that they made?
The question is that the reference to Ramsey County? Yes, that's where this pickup and hold originated from, was the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office. So their confirmation would go back to that originating agency.
Matt Sepik again with NPR News. Sorry, I didn't identify myself before. Why don't we hear the gunshots on the body camera, but we do hear them on the SWAT camera?
The question is a very good one. Why don't we hear the gunshots on the body-worn camera? I don't have an answer for you on that. We are equally perplexed. I suspect, and I'm speculating, that technicians or the technical engineers at Axon would be better to answer that question. We live in a world where we watch a video and we see it and we hear it and then we think, yep, that's what happened. And for me in this case, it just gives me pause to say, why don't we hear the gunshots on the body-worn camera, but yet we hear them very clearly on the squad video. So part of the BCA's investigation will surely, based on evidence and all the work that they do, try to line up everything down to a fraction of a second. But one of the body-worn cameras in particular, oddly, it doesn't record the gunshots, even though it's recording all of the other ambient noise. One of the other body-worn cameras captures what I would categorize as a subdued gunshot, and then the squad video with the window down clearly captures gunshots. So that was something that we were initially perplexed by, and we still are.
Obviously, the BCA is investigating this, but it's done at the Department of Public Safety. How can public process is going to be transparent investigation? Did you consider having an outside agency look at it?
Yeah, I'll let the commissioner answer that, and I'm happy to also answer.
Again, just to repeat the question, I think in essence is that the BCA is part of a state agency, part of the Department of Public Safety. The Minnesota State Patrol is also a part of the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. How would an investigative process work between those two agencies, and does that create public trust? I will let you know that obviously the Minnesota State Patrol and the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension are separate law enforcement agencies. They act independently, they do independent work. They both have their chief law enforcement officers, Colonel Matthew Langer, who is here today, and Superintendent Drew Evans. who is with the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. So they both have their law enforcement agencies and their duties. Anytime that there is an officer-involved shooting in the state of Minnesota, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension typically is asked to perform those investigations. We have a specific unit within the Bureau of Criminal Apprehensions, the Forces Investigation Unit, which has been supported and funded through direct legislative priorities to go ahead and to be the go-to agency for law enforcement, officer-involved shootings or use of force shootings or in-custody deaths. That has worked very well for a number of years. In fact, it was just recently funded in the legislature to continue with that Force Investigation Unit. Through the creation of that process, this scenario was contemplated, and through that work, this is just the way that was contemplated that it would occur, that the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the Force Investigative Unit, which does not train with or have regular contact with any other law enforcement agencies, including the State Patrol, would conduct those investigations. It will be separate and independent from the Minnesota State Patrol. And as mentioned today, my time spent with Colonel Langer is really specific to spending time with the family and walking through the video with you. When I spend time with Superintendent Evans, that will be updates with the investigative process. But they are an independent process, independent agency, and I don't provide direction and control. They do their investigation, get the final product, and then when that final product is completed, there's full transparency. It's available to the public. It will go to the county attorney's office. In this case, it would be Mary Moriarty of the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. So again, we think that process worked and does work, and we've done that several times.
Tim Harlow, Star Tribune, Matt, this is a question for you. You had a shot fired into the hip. Can you just talk a little bit about what is the procedure or protocol? Did this rise to a use of force level based on the standards in other patrol?
Yeah, the question is how it relates to the use of force level for the State Patrol. For sure. So we have very clear policies all available on our website. This very clearly meets the threshold of the use of deadly force. And so that triggers protocols within the organization, including a critical incident review downstream, where we take a look at this incident from beginning to end to uncover any answers that we might want to come forward with related to training, related to equipment, related to supervisory notification, related to protocol. Our goal is for these things to never happen. And so when they do happen, we shift really quickly into why did it happen, and is there absolutely anything we can do in the future to make sure it doesn't happen again? So that critical incident review process is part of the puzzle of trying to determine that, and that augments the incredibly anticipated investigation from the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension too, that once things are done also helps us to make decisions internally about what, if anything, should change.
We'll take one more.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood that statement. When you said meets the threshold of use of deadly force, what did you mean by that?
Well, the question is what I meant by the answer to the meet the threshold of the use of deadly force. But firing a service weapon in the direction of another human being is very clearly the use of deadly force. So for us, that would trigger that standard within our policy and protocol. I apologize if I didn't answer the question that you were asking, but that's how I interpreted it.
Can you say at
Matt,
what point
Matt,
that
this will be
threshold
yours.
was met? At what point the threshold was met that we saw in the video?
Yeah, that is way too deep into the investigation and what the individual troopers were thinking, and I simply don't know what they were thinking.
Thanks,
How
guys.
is DPS training your officers to de-escalate situations like this?
Is there Howie, is there a way you can re-roll at least the SWAT video? Because we didn't get any audio feed. I know you're going to be releasing the file.
Let me see how long it'll
Maybe
take.
quick, can you
Yep.
grab it from all five?
So what I will do
Okay.
is, let me see how long it will take us to get you that file. If
Okay.
that's more expedient than doing this, I would choose to do that instead.
All right.
Can I ask you one question?
Sure. Can I go do that first, and I'll be right back, I promise. I promise, I'll be right back.